Hello and welcome to Tales from the Backlog. My name is Steve Boshier and I will be playing this game tonight. If you are not familiar with this channel, we we have lots of different games that we run. On Monday nights like tonight, we play a variety of different games. We have a rotating schedule of games and a rotating cast of players. This is who you've got tonight. And then on Friday nights, we have our in-person games at an actual table where we do ongoing stories. We're currently running Worlds Without Number for our second long-form campaign over there. We'll be back in that for episode 10 this Friday. But tonight, we are playing the highly touted, much anticipated Candela Obscura. And my lovely wife, Sarah, is going to be running us through it. Sarah, why don't you tell us about this game? Hold on, guys. Thank you, Alan. We have just been informed that you guys, your audio is not coming through. No, all of you, which means that I didn't select the correct audio input for the call, because mine is coming through. All right, somebody say something.
I'm saying something.
There we go.
Do we need to continue?
Booger.
All right. All right. Hey, let's start over. Welcome to Candela Obscura. Sarah. My part
Welcome
we
to
don't
this
have to redo. Sarah, tell us about
original
this game.
introduction.
Everything you said was inaudible. Tell us about this game, please.
Oh, no.
Oh, hello there. Welcome to Candela Obscura. This is, of course, if you're watching this channel, you are probably already aware. This is coming to you from Darrington Press, which is the Critical Role publishing arm. Tonight we are playing from the Quick Start Guide that is available for free as of now, August 2023. If you are watching this in the future and have the full set of rules, we don't. So congrats to you. The Candela Obscura is written and designed by Spencer Stark and Rowan Hall, and is, of course, available right now. The Quick Start Guide is available for free on the Critical Role website. Friendly reminder to those who are joining us is that the point of Tales from the Backlog is we are picking up these games very quickly, doing a little bit of back work on them, but if you are looking for a flawless rendition of the rules, this might not be the channel for you. This is going to be us experimenting and trying it out. So with that, we can go ahead and just jump right in. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of setting. But first, let's go ahead and just quickly introduce our players and your character names.
Well, since I'm at the top of the screen, I'll start off. I'm playing Robin Stragan. I am the Slink pre-generated character sheet labeled May 30th. And that means I have a little bit of everything. The only thing I have is no sense at all. Beyond that, I've got a dice in just about all the skill sets. And so I am sort of our jack of all trades mastermind.
I am playing Thorne Jennings. I'm using the face pre-gen sheet. So I am a magician by specialty with the ability, the prestige, where I can summon a mundane object magically to my hand. And I'll probably have some questions about that for the GM as we go. But I also know a guy, which means that I can just ask the GM who I know that could help us out nearby. Yeah, and I have also points in most of the skills. But let's see, my big ones are going to be Sway, Hide, and Sense.
Hello, I'm Mia. I'll be playing Eunice Grimshaw, which I'm using the weird pre-gen. My special abilities are Let Them In. Whenever you take one or more bleed marks, you also gain additional information about the phenomenon that hurt me. And then Ghost Blade, which I can attune to a ritual knife, and if I cut myself with it, I can inflict damage to magical wounds to creatures.
Ooh,
but I have very little in the way of nerve skills, just a single point and strike and control. I'm all about the focus and sense in my intuition as an occultist.
Nice.
Good times.
Excellent.
I left off my abilities. I have Scout. If I can observe a location, I can spend an intuition to ask a question. What do I see others can't? Or what should I follow? Where should we go? And I have Leverage. On a successful read roll, I can ask the GM what the target truly wants, and then any sway rolls I make using that, I get to add a dice.
And I would like to point out that without discussing it in advance, all 4 of us color coordinated tonight.
That's right. that we saw the background and we just all went, definitely this is we're going for the dark colors.
It's almost as though we've been constantly exposed to visual references regarding this game for several weeks.
I actually haven't watched anything on it yet.
I haven't watched it, but the thumbnails fill at my feet.
All right. Then let's go ahead and jump right in. You all start the game in the city of New Fair. It is a cosmopolitan, bustling town. 3 years after the Great War has concluded and has successfully defended itself from takeover, New Fair is all about the new right now. Electricity is everywhere, literally, as it is being wired through the city very quickly, faster than, well, lightning. Everybody is thinking about what's new, what's next, what's happening now. And a few people, yourselves among them though, are very aware of what's actually happening. Something ancient, something old, something that has been loosened after the wounds of war. The holes are being patched over, but new ones are being discovered all the time. Each of you has received this cold, blustery fall afternoon a message. The telegram is still a newfangled introduction. You've been delivered your message the old-fashioned way. A runner has delivered a note to your various doors, places of residence, frequent haunts, summoning you to a meeting this afternoon at 3 o'clock at the Euclid Club, which is your circle's regular gathering place. You all make your way to the Euclid Club, which is a discreet suburban house at the edge of the at the edge of the Varnish. I said that and I was like, that's not right. It's at the edge of the Varnish, the city's shopping district. This is a private club for ladies and gentlemen. None of you are members, but all of you, when you give your names at the door, are quickly ushered to a private parlor on the second floor. The curtains drawn, a fire flickering in the grate against the cold autumn air. As you enter the Euclid Club and enter this drawing room, let's take a quick moment to introduce your character, what your character's appearance, and what they do as they enter the room. Who wants to arrive first?
I believe
I can arrive.
That based on the character descriptions in the Discord, Robin is the leader, so I will go in first if she tells me to. It's my instinct to go in first, but I'm waiting to be told.
Well, if we've all been summoned, we all probably arrived individually.
Who
So
arrived?
Did you come on time or did you get here early?
Oh,
Exactly.
I definitely got here early.
I would have got here early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How early?
So sitting outside, I would have said, yeah, you could. Would you like to go first? I meet you out front as we both are casing the joint.
Yeah,
sure.
I'll go first. Are you there too, Eunice?
I'm going to arrive right on time.
All right, so Thorn and Robin, you meet on the front step as the footman opens the door to both of you. What does the footman see?
So this is kind of not the richest part of town, but the upper crust part. Not
this
like
is the downtown portion. You are right at the edge of the Varnish, which is where the modern shops. It attracts tourists and wealthy locals alike. So there's a pretty good mix of upper class, upper middle class, maybe even some very well-dressed working class individuals here in this area. And it's only 3 o'clock, well, 2:45 in the afternoon as you are, and the whole area is very well lit. Nobody, of course, the new electric streetlights haven't been illuminated yet, but this is a quite safe, quite respectable area with a great deal of foot traffic.
Well then, given that placement in the social structure of the city, I will go in with a bowler hat instead of a top hat. It's probably a deep dark brown to match my long double-breasted suit that I walk in with one hand tucked in here for no reason, and I just look around to see what I see.
And I would say, because they opened the door to us both, I had arrived in not quite a flapper dress, sort of business flapper almost, where it's that sort of long, smooth upper dress and then just a little bit of fringe at the bottom. Also in shades of gold and brown. And I would say, right as the door started to open, I would link my arm through Thorn's and sort of strike a pose so that anyone who looked at us immediately would have their eye drawn to me so that they wouldn't notice him casing the joint.
Somebody please remind me to cut a business flapper for later on.
Yes, by all means. Absolutely, business flapper.
Yeah.
The footman opens the door and will take your names. You are known in this location, and he politely bows you in and escorts you up the stairs to the drawing room. Eunice, you arrive a few minutes later, right on the dot of 3 o'clock. Can you describe yourself?
I would say I'm wearing basic utilitarian clothes, like suede, like brown pants with brown leather laced up, like over the calf boots. And a brown vest with a dark blue jacket over the top, and of course a scarf that I've got wrapped up and around to conceal my face.
Very good. The footman also bows you in, makes no comment on your attire. It's a little unusual, but not terribly out of focus for this area. And also escorts you up to the drawing room, where you find Robin and Thorn also waiting. Anything that you three would like to do? For the moment, you are alone in this room, the three of you together.
Eunice, darling, right on time, as usual.
Indeed.
It's best to be on time rather than late or early.
If you are not 10 minutes early, then you are late.
Huh. Scoffing at that.
So I haven't heard any...
I seek not to arrive anywhere early. So please, Jennings, refrain from dictating behavior to me.
You misunderstand me. I seek only to empower you for future meetings. Arriving early allows one to get the lay of the land in advance.
Perhaps Eunice has associates that don't like being surprised.
And on that note, the door opens, and you are joined by Mademoiselle Cheryslavsky. And this is your lightkeeper. Good evening, or afternoon, I should say. Please, everyone, take your seats. Thank you very much for coming so early. Madame Cheryslavsky is a a bit of an enigma to you all. You have all met her before. She is a very petite woman with an accent that's hard to define, and from a distance she looks to be in her late 20s, but a little closer up there's little hints around bit lines around the eyes, very carefully concealed with makeup that suggests that she might in fact be quite a bit older, or it could just be the things she's seen. It's hard to say. You know very little about her, other than the fact that she has brought the three of you together. And you all take seats around the fire, and Mademoiselle Jaroslavsky is the last to take her seat. And she says, "Thank you. Good afternoon to the Circle of Gleam and Gloom. The organization appreciates you assembling yourselves so quickly to our summons. Forgive me if I skip the pleasantries and cut straight to the point. We have called you here today to investigate an incident. At the University of Briarbank, a groundskeeper, one Mr. Van Giesenhorst, has disappeared. We know very little about what exactly occurred. The reason that Mr. Giesenhorst's disappearance has come to the Circle's attention is that, unfortunately, the OUP seems to consider this a disappearance of interest. And I'll take a second here as the game master. You are all familiar at this point with the OUP. This is the Office of Unexplained Phenomenon. There is in this world, in addition to Candela Obscura, which is a non-governmental organization, the OUP is in fact a branch of the official Fairlands government. It is very top secret, and they are the branch that is aware that magic is real and that it exists. The difference here between Candela Obscura and OUP is, of course, that Candela Obscura seeks to protect and defend, whereas the OUP seeks to preserve the secret, lest there be panic and rioting in the streets, and takes a considerably harsher enforcement policy in this regard.
Is the public aware of the OUP's existence, and if so, what do people think they do?
No, the public is not aware of the OUP's existence. As far as they are aware, OUP officers and agents will present themselves as members of the police force when they appear, when they need to interface with the public. So their existence is itself a secret.
They're the men in black, as it were.
Exactly.
We're the men in black.
Those don't exist either, don't worry.
You are dueling organizations of men and women in black. But picking back up to Mademoiselle Jaroslavsky, she removes from a inner pocket in her jacket 3 cards, 3 small calling cards that are blank, except they have not been pre-printed, but they each have a line of handwriting upon them. She puts them down one at a time on the table in front of you. The first is, this is what we know of Mr. Giesenhorst. It is unfortunately very light information. He is a laborer by trade, was employed on a, shall we say, a contract basis with the university. His specialty, as I understand it, was in fact electricity. He has been training himself in this new technology and was presently employed by the university to establish a new series of streetlights along the university and park grounds. And she puts down that first card, and you see it is the name Van Giesenhorst and an address.
Surely lights on the street would start a fire citywide.
Yes, Mr. Jennings. When we say street lights, we do mean street. They are lights on the sides of the street.
Well, yes, but I've heard of this electricity. It burns things. Burns them, I tell you.
They used to have candles in the lights. They're just replacing it with the electricity. It's progress, Mr. Jennings. It's progress.
Candles,
Yeah.
we understand. We can control. This electricity is gibberish.
The gas lamps. It's good to replace the gas lamps. They are far too unsafe. Cause too many fires.
I knew a man whose brother was killed by the electricity.
Do you, Mr. Jennings?
Yes. He was working with it, and they say it cooked him from the inside out because he touched the wrong thing or something.
Well, then I suggest that you conduct yourselves with all caution. Presumably, whatever has drawn the OUP to Mr. Giesenhost's disappearance, it's unlikely to have anything to do with electricity, unless somehow...
This address, is this where he disappeared from, or is this his last known location?
Thank you, Miss Stragan. This is his address, his home address. We know very little about the man, as I say, but we were able to find his address for you if you wish to begin your investigation there. The next thing we have, and she puts down the second card, we know that the lead OUP agent in this matter, who has been seen around campus asking questions about Mr. Giesenhost, is a woman by the name of Farah Naftali. This is actually rather a stroke of good luck for us, as Miss Naftali is aware of our organization and has been known to cooperate if you can convince her that you are working towards the same purpose and are not out to undermine her investigation and her purpose, which of course will be to preserve the secret of magic at all costs. So, and this has on the card, this has the name Farah Naftali, and it has a address that is the organization of, it is one of the offices of the OUP, along with a floor and a number that is presumably the office number for her. She says, but I will add that she is unlikely to be in her office if she is conducting an active investigation. You may be more likely to find her in the field. And for the third item, and she pulls out a third card and puts it down before you. This is another name we were able to find for you. This is this is Mrs. Valerie Oldbanks, and she kind of squints at the card a second. Yes, Mrs. Valerie Oldbanks. We understand Mrs. Oldbanks is in fact the person whom contracted Mr. Giesenhost. So she may have information for you about exactly what it is Mr. Giesenhost was contracted to do in the university, and where might have additional information. I must tell you, the reason that we have called you the Circle of Gleam and Gloom to investigate this, it will not surprise you, I'm sure, to learn that we do have certain sympathetic ears amongst the academics and even a few amongst the students of Briarbank University. It has not occurred to us until today that we have made a grievous oversight in failing to establish a foothold amongst the servants and the staff of the university as well. We are calling upon you because you may not have connections to the university itself, but we believe that you three will have a good chance of moving unnoticed amongst the working class and amongst the middle class, and can still be comfortable speaking with the students and the faculty as well as you need to conduct your investigation. Your direction in this matter, first and foremost, is to discover exactly why the OUP is investigating this. It is of great concern to our organization. that the OUP seems to have not just beat us to the punch, but seems to be aware of facts that we are completely ignorant of. We have not detected any bleed. We have not detected any disturbance in our flare, any senses of magic near the university.
So had they not been involved in this, you wouldn't have known it was at all even concerning.
That is exactly correct, Miss Stragan, and that is why we are so very concerned. We have missed something very important here, and we need you three to find out exactly what it was.
It is possible
Your second...
that what you've
Yes,
missed is that the OUP wants our attention for some reason.
Well, they have it.
That is certainly a possibility, though this would be a very strange and roundabout way of getting it. But yes, if you believe that might be a possibility, you should investigate that as well. Your first concern is to find out exactly what is going on, what has attracted the OUP's attention. Your second concern, we wish to know how the OUP found this before we did, and what we missed that the OUP saw. Third concern, we would have greatly appreciated if, while you are conducting your investigation, you might pick up any sympathetic ears, report back any persons of interest to Candela Obscura who might be of interest to us in the future, who might be a foothold into this part of the campus ecosystem, as it were. As always, conduct yourselves with discretion, take care of each other, and protect yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jaroslavsky. It's
Thank
always
you,
a
ma'am.
pleasure.
And she will get up and sweep right out of the room again, leaving you with those 3 cards. For it is again Mr. Giesenhost's home address. It is the information for Farah Naftali, the agent of the OUP, and it is the work address of Mrs. Virginia Oldbanks, who is the employer of Mr. Giesenhost, and it is an address at the university.
Well, it looks to me like our best bet is to start at the university, either speaking with the lady who has the money or with the students to get an ear to the ground. Either way, it seems like a good starting point.
I agree.
How recently have you been to the university, Thorn? Have you got any footwork already in place?
Well, I know a guy. This is actually an ability of mine, which I'll go ahead and use right off the bat.
Do it.
Once per assignment, ask the GM who you know nearby that could help you. They will give you a temporary contact and explain why they might have insight into the investigation. So, who do I know at the university? I imagine that Thorn would cultivate relationships in all tiers of society. So, might be the dean, might be the janitor.
Might be a frat boy, who knows?
All right. Well, you know what? I will let you choose, Steve. Would you like to know a professor, a student, or a servant or staff member? You can let me know which one you'd like to start.
Thorn would like to know one of the professors.
All right. You are familiar with one of the professors. So the professor that you know is, let me see, this is going to be Professor Kiko Wallace. Kiko Wallace is a, let me see, actually, why don't you tell me what Kiko Wallace is a professor of?
Are we saying Kiko like is that a female name?
Yes.
It's a little too close to Keiko, so she's a botanist.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Very good. Professor Kiko Wallace is professor of botany. How does Jennings come to know her?
I believe that I struck up a conversation with her in a restaurant.
Very good. You ran into Professor Wallace in a restaurant, noticed her unusual boutonniere in her jacket, struck up a conversation, and cultivated that friendship, just as she cultivates her collection of exotic and deadly plants. But she assures you, she's just warning you that, if you have a cat, you shouldn't bring your cat or your dog to her location, because she would feel really, really bad, because it's important to remember that plants can defend themselves.
Well,
and you shouldn't.
I'm sure I am not an animal person.
Yes, but she's oddly fixated on this.
Okay.
You feel like this might have come up in the past.
Yeah, she's definitely killed someone's dog.
She has. So you know that she is. You know enough about her that you could call upon her at the university. You know where her office is nearby, the classroom, her lecture hall, her laboratory. All of those are easy for you to find. Would you like to proceed, all three of you, to the university to find Professor Wallace? Or would you like to do something else first? I will add as well, of the addresses you have been given, the address for Mrs. Virginia Oldbanks is, of course, at the college, which is in forgive me while I check back on my notes here, which is, of course, in Briar Green at the university, which is where you will also find Professor Wallace.
On the map that we have here, none of the districts of the city are actually labeled, so I don't know where that is.
No, they're not.
This looks kind of industrial. This might be a university over here.
I am assuming, I actually, perhaps in the future people watching this will know what the districts are. I'm assuming that the very green, verdant part on the northern part, the part of the city that is north of the river, but yes.
That looks very university-ish, yeah.
It does.
This is Briar Green. It encompasses both the university and also many of the city's public parks as well. So
copy. That
is Briar Green. Right to the north of it is both, the northeast of it, the section of the city that is on those sort of funny roofs. That is both, that is South Soffit, underneath the buildings, which is the poorer, rundown area of town living in the ruins of Old Fair. And quite literally on top of them is the Eaves, which is the high-class part of the city, living in the restored, upscale area, and proud of those beautiful buildings. The address you were given from Mr. Giesenhast is in South Soffit. And the last address you were given, the office of OUP, is actually here on your side of the village. It's actually pretty close to you, your side of New Fair. It's close to you in the Varnish. But it's unlikely that you would actually find Miss Naftali at her office today.
Might be worth stopping by and slipping a note under the door, though, as a courtesy call to professionally let her know we know that we're both on the same job. Sort of a nod to let her know, as it were. What do you think, Thorn? I imagine I'm going to let you take the lead with dealing with her.
Well, it certainly never hurts to be polite.
And it is on the way, so it would be a good thing to do.
Indeed.
Very well.
Yeah, we'll swing by there.
Well, the best thing about having your center of operations in the Varnish is the central hub of the city's cable car system. It is only a few minutes walk to the main station, and from there, we'll say that you're actually able to take an extra 30 minutes and stop at this office location you have been given before you head over to the station. It is a bustling office. It is, from the outside, it does look like a police station, not the type that is open to the, not a station bustling with constables and the citizenry coming in to report, their bicycles being stolen and things like that. It is a labeled as a police administration building. And I will add as well that you walk in and there is a very basic lobby, and at the front desk is a young sergeant, still a bit spotty in his face. He looks up at you from his newspaper and goes, "We don't take reports here. You're gonna have to go down the street. Station's down there. Just administration."
Ah, and what is it you administrate, my good man?
Paperwork.
Ah, well, I've come to save you some of that. I have a paper, and I know exactly where to put it.
And where is that, sir?
Under the door of Valerie Oldbank's office.
Who's that?
Oh, just a person that I know.
I nudge him and give him the floor and room number for Farah Neftali.
Oh, right. I said the wrong name. I'm looking at the wrong part of my notes. Yeah. Farah. Pretend I said that.
Okay. we'll retro it.
Yeah.
It's player mistake, not character mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. You say Farah Neftali. He's like, "You want to leave a message?"
Yes, I have written it here.
And he holds out his hand. All right.
I'll give it to
Thank
him.
you. He puts it on his desk and immediately goes back to reading his newspaper.
Good luck with your administration.
Same to you, sir. Have a lovely day.
Well, they're
And he
having
just
the conversation.
dead eyes you all the. Oh, okay, yes. While they're talking. Mm-hmm.
I'd like to just sort of scan the room and get an impression of, is this guy gonna actually pass this note on, or is this immediately going in the bin the second we walk out the door? Is he just someone who is here to stonewall curious public, or is this actually a security guard?
Let's go ahead and make your first roll.
That's a read roll,
Let's
isn't
see.
it?
What should we call this? What should we call this roll? This seems like a
Read.
Read for interpreting body language, spot lies.
And I have one
Promote it.
dot. That means I get to roll one dice.
That
Can
is
I
right.
assist with that? Kind of like nudge you and point you in a direction or something?
So the way that assists work in this game is that you can spend your own drive to assist somebody else. So you can't assist for
I was going to say, but we haven't earned any drive yet.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
You don't
there
get to
is
start with drive.
assist.
Okay, I wondered.
Exactly. Assist is an important part of this game, but it will cost you when and it can definitely be a good thing to do, but it's not something you can do for free. So,
Eunice is
Robin.
disinterested in this guy. She's like
Mhm.
working hard.
All right, so just the one die. Ooh, I got a 2.
Okay, so a 2 is indeed a failure. That is going to be, let me just double check. But yes, a 1, 2, and 3 is a failure. You do not accomplish what you wanted, and there are consequences. Robin, as you are trying to scope out this room, it is very hard to read. It is it's unusually stripped bare. This is not an age of minimalism, and this room is minimalist. There is no curtains, no art, no beautiful, comfortable sofas or benches. And you are trying very hard to read this situation. And as you do, the sergeant catches you scoping, and he makes eye contact with you, and you realize you've been made. Like, he has pegged that there is something a little shady going on here. And he is looking at you he's looking at the three of you a little more suspicious now. And he's actually going to put his newspaper down and sort of do that thing where he's about to stand up. It's like, Is there something else you wanted?
Ladies,
gentlemen?
I would like to sort of, if possible, without looking like I'm doing it on purpose, just sort of move between his gaze and Robin. And I do imagine Thorn is like maybe a little tubby, so I'm filling out the view space there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to move in between the two of them, and if I could roll sway to convince him to just let us walk out and also deliver the note that I gave him.
Yes.
I would, I guess what I would say is, oh, we're just on our way, good sir. Thank you very much. And when I come back later to speak with Miss Naftali, who should I say was kind enough to help us out when we arrived?
Go ahead and roll your sway.
All right, so that is 2 dots for me, and one of them is going to be gilded.
Yes.
I am not taking the gilded die. I am taking the 4.
Okay. All right, so that is a mixed success. So what happens is that the sergeant backs down a little bit. He settles back into his seat, and he's still eyeing Robin a bit suspiciously, but he doesn't seem that suspicious of you. More like, who's this lady who's come in with this perfectly respectable, stand-up middle-class guy?
Bowler hat.
And yeah, very much. Like, he's not quite sure about you. Like, he doesn't, there's a chance, like, he's eyeing you, he's trying to figure out, like, he's not getting criminal vibes off of you, and he's just unsure enough that he's backing down a little bit. And he says, well,
come, Miss Stragan, let's go feed your cat.
It's just so boring in there. I mean, my goodness, there's just no art, there's no decorations. I mean, my gosh.
I know. Don't worry. We're leaving here now. We're done. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And we will walk out.
All right. And he lets you go. All right. And you have left your message for Ms. Naftali when she returns to her office. You can go ahead. It's a matter of minutes. A quick hop, skip, and a jump over to this Grand Central Station. And up you go onto one of the many cable cars whisking citizens of Newfair all around the city. Briar Green is, of course, a very popular destination for work, for business, and for pleasure. And even on a blustery August afternoon, you see plenty of folks heading over with picnic baskets, with their umbrellas, with blankets folded over their arms, and you easily blend into this crowd and exit right at the university front doors, more or less. Where would you like to go? You have the address for Mrs. Virginia Oldbanks, and you have the contact for Professor Kiko Wallace. And I will say, Steve, the advantage you get from knowing this person is that she's automatically on your side.
Okay.
For any of these other people, you will need to win them over, roll sways, roll things like that. But you've already established a convivial relationship with Professor Wallace.
All right. Yeah, I would like to find her first, unless one of the ladies has a better idea.
Oh, not at all. You're definitely our social butterfly. I will follow where you lead us, Thorn. If you know someone here, let's start with them.
Well, Professor Wallace is a good friend of mine that I met over drinks and chicken wings. And we will head... They have chickens in Newfair, right? We will head there.
Absolutely. Yes, chicken wings, everybody's favorite afternoon treat in Newfair.
I just imagine a pub, you know.
There are, in fact, yes. As you exit the terminal, there are quite a few establishments. Briar Green is a very high-end area, but this close to the university, there's quite a mix as well of sort of of mom and pop shops, taverns, pop-up kebab stands, places for hungry students with not a lot of coin in their pocket to quickly congregate, get a bite, get a drink. The afternoon is you're beginning to feel a little bit. Let me have you know what? Let me have everybody roll a. Let me see. Let's call it anybody who would like to can roll an intuition, one of their intuition rolls.
I'm going to do a survey because I can roll a gilded die on that.
All right.
I sense is better for me, but I don't think it applies here. I'm going to roll inspect or focus to.
Yeah, I'll roll a focus as well. That's also got a gilded dice. So.
5.
A 5. All right.
I get a drive.
I got a 5 on my gilded dice. Yay.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Oh, great. Very good. And with the gilded dice, that means that you are going to recover 1 point of drive.
Yes.
So now 2 of us have drive.
Yep.
I have no
That's
drive,
right.
but that's okay. I have a bowler
All
At
head.
least you have sense.
Yeah.
Steve, what did you roll?
I rolled focus and got a 4.
Okay, so 4 in focus for Steve. Mia, you said you rolled,
A focus as well. A 5 in focus. Mm-hmm.
and Meredith, you rolled a focus or a survey?
Survey.
Survey. Okay, so Steve and Mia, for your focus, you inspect, analyze, remember. You do immediately notice that yes, there are. You see the signs that streetlights are being installed along this stretch of road. This is not a one-man job, and there are indeed other people, laborers out here installing the most recent one, and there's a row of holes that have been prepared for these streetlights to be installed, as well as signs or stanchions up to stop people from falling into the trench and things like that. So you see work in progress of these new street lamps going up. With survey, we are searching, tracking, spotting. Let's see. I would say that, let me see, a 5 with search, track, spot.
Does one of the workers look sad like his buddy's not there today?
You can probably, you do notice that, you quickly identify that these might indeed be compatriots of Van Giesenhaus. Of course, you also notice that this part of town that you are, in fact, this is being a former denizen of South Soffit yourself, you do notice that this place is only 1 block away. There is a very thin, this is an area of respectability, but your familiarity with the city, you can see that this is a psychological line that has been drawn here, Robin. And that you know for a fact that if you cross over 1 more block, you're going to be seeing a very different part of town. And this is, yes. So that is what you guys pick up as you get off the cable car. What would you like to do first? Do you want to go ahead and approach the workers? Do you want to proceed to talk to Professor Wallace?
I would like to approach one of the workers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe you answered Robin's question. I don't know if it was asked in jest, but does one of them look sad?
With that role, I would say nobody really, they look busy is what they look like. Nobody is having, you know what? Yes, you know what? I will answer that. You get a sense of, as you're subtracting spotting, you notice that there is perhaps a little bit of tension among this group where you would expect, everybody's working hard. It's something that you wouldn't, but everybody is pretty grim-faced, oddly so. It could just be that that's kind of the vibes of, working for the university. But you do notice that nobody's like chatting, laughing, having a good time while they work. Everybody is very quiet and very focused.
Before you head over, Thorn, I would be interested to know when you speak to them if they think that he just isn't showing up and they're mad that he's ditched them, or if they think he's somehow been punished, or...
Well, if they
those
bring
are my
him
working
up,
theories.
I will ask those questions. And then I am going to approach one of them. I'm looking for... I imagine that if they're hanging light posts, that they're probably working in pairs with one guy up the ladder and one guy down handing him stuff.
They are working in teams of 3, the ones that are, there's currently one team of 3 working on one lamppost,
okay,
and then a team of 4 that is laying out the foundation for the next lamppost that's about maybe 40 feet down the road.
Okay. I would like to go up to whichever guy is not on a ladder and is going through a toolbox. And just because he's currently, got his back to the actual work, I'm going to walk up to that guy and say, "Excuse me, my good man, do you find this type of work to be dangerous?"
He looks at you like you've lost your mind for a second. He's like, no. Sorry, so I thought I'd get back to work.
I ask because I've heard
excuse me.
rumors, of men disappearing when they work with electricity. Any truth to it?
At that, when you say that, all 3 of them turn and look at you.
Oh.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the job. I just thought I'd have a little
excuse me,
chat.
look. What exactly is it that you mean? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, someone
You've been talking to someone?
A brother of a friend of mine was apparently killed working with electricity, and I heard tell that sometimes someone can be completely disintegrated.
I'm going to ask you to make a roll for me, because you are, let's see, you can make this either a sway roll if you want to, because these guys are getting pretty clearly upset with you. So you can either try to, you're going to need to make a sway roll to continue this conversation.
That's fine. Obviously hit a nerve for these guys. The world's first electricians don't want to admit their job is dangerous. Once again, I have a 4. I've rolled nothing but 4s tonight. It's a 4 on sway.
All right, and let me ask you, you are trying to needle at them. It sounds like where you're trying to needle them into, you're trying to provoke a response. Is that?
Well, what I'm trying to do is just have a friendly conversation. Apparently, I've already failed at this part, but I want.
Well, their friend is missing, and you've made a rather.
Well, no, if that's what you want,
everybody's talking
what you
at once.
want.
What?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Apparently I've already failed at this part, but what I was trying to do was bring up something that was adjacent to someone from this job didn't show up to work and see if they were going to bring it up. But as soon as I mentioned people disappearing when they work with electricity, they all stared at me like I was a shark in the water, so I don't know what's going
on. The person that you're speaking to with the toolbox straightens. He's like, "Look, mate, I don't know what you think you know." And the guy who is on the ladder kind of scrambles like, "Mickey, back! It's all right, Mickey. It's all right. He's just a tourist. Come on, man, walk away." And he'll turn to you, Thorn, and be like, "Look, mate, now's not a good time. All right, look, we're being safe. We got, it's a university. We got a lot of smart people here. They're telling us what to do. Look, nobody's getting hurt doing this. If you got a concern, take it up with Mrs. Oldbanks. It's her go. It's her view, or whatever you want to call it. We're just here to do a job. All right, man?
I meant no offense. It was simply a mild interest in the subject of the new technology. I thought I'd talk to the people most directly involved.
I understand, but listen, look, it's not, just let it go, man, all right? Mickey's mate disappeared a couple days ago, and, he's taking it really hard. I assure you, he did not get zapped by electricity, but it's just a little bit of a sensitive topic right now,
Well, foot in mouth, I walk up to someone whose own friend just disappeared and say something like that. My deepest apologies. I had no idea.
All right, it's all right, Mike. Just gotta get back to work. And he's going to proceed to, he's gonna drag Mickey back over and get him kind of refocused on work, unless you interrupt him again.
I will return to Robin and Eunice and say, well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is, we have identified 3 people who know the missing party. The bad news is, one of them for sure hates me.
You could tell that from across the street. You seem to have tapped a nerve there, Thorn.
Yes, well, what are the odds that I'd walk up to the best friend of the man who's disappeared on my first attempt?
Well, there's 4 in that group and 3 in this group, so by the numbers, they're missing one.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, but
I would say that the odds are pretty good, because there's not that many people working on this. This is not a huge workman project. You might have just walked up to the entire team.
Well, now I know.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't told that he died on the job. They very much think he disappeared for some other reason, so...
And I believe they would know if he died on the job, for it is also their job. They would have seen it.
Or been given a cover story of that, and they weren't, as far as we know.
Indeed.
So...
Yeah. I will point out, you are seeing firsthand that they are working in teams. It is unlikely that, well, you can certainly go back and ask, but I will say that on your roll, you are pretty confident, between the rolls you've already had, that this is, and what you've seen, this is not a solo operator job. It's taking a team. So if something happened to Giesenhust on the job, it would have been witnessed by these guys.
Right. Yeah, what we don't know is how many other teams there are elsewhere. That's perhaps something to look into later. But we should go.
Well, that's something that Ms. Oldbanks would know. I would assume she's paying them.
We should perhaps approach my friend Professor Wallace first, in order to avoid another situation like that one, where I say the wrong thing because I don't know who I'm talking to. That is the purpose of cultivating friendships in strategic locations.
Indeed, if Professor Wallace can give us an idea of how to best manipulate the conversation with Ms. Oldbanks, that would be helpful.
Manipulate is such an ugly word. I prefer
But is that
massage.
Not what you do, Thorn? Massage. Yes, Thorn. That is exactly what you do.
I simply choose the correct opportunities, the correct times, the correct words. It's not manipulation.
Indeed.
That implies a depriving of free will. I allow everyone to make their own decisions.
And as you ply your trade, I assume you've run into many troubles over the years, such as the one you just kicked, as you had with these 3 men.
That kind of thing does happen occasionally. It's quite unlikely that I don't see it coming, but live and learn.
Surely you've learned to fight your way out of such troubles with your fists if necessary.
Well, when needed, I also have other means at my disposal. fists
That is
are
good.
breakable, after all.
No, we shall have to avoid any trouble of such manner.
Better to convince
You are
people
it.
of their own free will to punch someone else as opposed to you, then, yes?
Yeah, the circle of gleam and gloom are talkers, not fighters.
I did choose a hidden weapon as one of my gear items.
There you go.
So
All right.
I imagine
so
I
you go
have a
ahead
knife
and
that pops out of the sleeve, kind of thing.
And I imagine this is as we've been walking through the university
Yes.
grounds to Professor Wallace's office, we've been having this discussion.
Yeah, just setting off every metal detector in this pre-electric society.
well, it's good news is this is pre-metal detectors.
Yes.
So you make it to Professor Wallace's the botany building, the physical sciences building easily, and classes are it's a passing period, or it's a few minutes before the hour, so students are racing through the hallways, congregating, chatting, and it's quite easy for you. You find Professor Wallace in her laboratory, which is racks and racks of carefully tended plants. They're glossy green, silver leaves tumbling down the shelves. And the professor herself is at her desk writing up a note with a cutting from one plant tucked behind her ear. And as you enter, you knock and enter. She says, "Oh, Mr. Jennings, what a delight!
Professor Wallace.
I was not expecting you today."
I just thought I would drop by. I was in the neighborhood after all with my two friends here. Allow me to introduce Miss Stragan and Miss Grimshaw.
The pleasure.
Mr. Again, Miss Grimshaw.
The pleasure, sir.
delightful.
Very nice space you have here, Professor.
Oh, thank you. I do my best. I'm very fortunate. But yes, I'm fortunate to after many years of tenure in academic politicking, to finally have landed myself a laboratory with delightful west-facing windows. The western sun is so important.
I say the same thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't...
Yes, my little darlings.
Yes, if you can't see the sunset, what is life?
Quite! Oh, Mr. Jennings, I understand so much what you mean. Yes, I love to watch the sunset through the leaves of the plants. Let them just bask in those beautiful rays. And it's hardly, you can barely even see the great gaping void in the bay far away.
Indeed, to be able to manage yourself into such a beautiful position as this, you must indeed know your way around the politics of the university. That is impressive.
Oh. My dear, you have no idea. It's I know that many of our students have come back from the wars and recovering themselves, and I can only hope we don't traumatize them all over again by exposing them to the battles going on. You would simply not believe what this constant battle for resources, students, paper.
Oh, I believe that I would. I mean, we are here today because I have an appointment coming up with Mrs. Oldbanks, where I'm a consultant, you see, for the English department, and I was meeting with her to do a lecture series this summer, and I honestly, I don't know what to expect in the meeting with her, and knowing that you are so familiar with office politics here, could you perhaps give me any tips as to things to say or not say to ensure I'm allowed to spend a few weeks here this summer?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Oldbanks, the facilities manager?
Yes. I need to have space available to do the lecture series here, and she's the one who manages that, is my understanding.
Yes. Oh, that is a bit unusual, dear. I would be a little suspicious. Who gave you her name? Because Mrs. Oldbanks does manage. Her role isn't to assign out space to the professors. She is good God help her if that was a responsibility placed on her shoulders. She does not have to bear that burden. That is Chairwoman Galette, who does have to make those calls.
Oh, goodness. Well, I might have misread the note. The boy who brought it to me, it looked like it had been scrawled awfully hurriedly. It gave me the day and time, and I assumed that was why I was being called. Perhaps she wants to discuss something else with me.
Oh, perhaps indeed. She does manage, in addition to managing the facilities of the college, she handles any sort of special requests. If you've already been assigned your space and need something like extra desks, if you need perhaps if you need a scout to assist you while you're here on campus, she manages the staffing, the servants.
Maybe they're looking to hire me as a guide for someone, perhaps. Then that could be. I do hire out as that.
Oh no, dear. A scout is. I know it's a funny thing they do here. It's very old-fashioned, but that's what they call. That's what they call, a maid or a footman here. It's very. It's a little odd, but yes. Yes, if you need, because that would really be more for the students who live in the dormitories on campus. They call both the maids and the footmen scouts. It's sort of an old-fashioned terminology.
Oh, goodness, I'm so glad Mr. Jennings brought me here first. I'd have made a fool of myself at this appointment.
Oh, but Mrs. Oldbanks is a very important person to know, I will say. Get on her good side, and especially when your window cracks in the middle of winter, or you've got a great big gaping hole in the middle of a rainstorm in your ceiling. You do want to know Mrs. Oldbanks. She's not a bad person to get to know, but she is not the person who assigns, not the person who works with the faculty and the students to assign actual rooms. That does run through, typically through Chairwoman Galette, Professor Galette.
Speaking
is there anything
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there anything about her, in order to get on her good side, does she have a particular pet peeve to avoid mentioning, or something that she loves that I should also mention enjoying?
No, I don't think I've ever thought about that before. One tends to think of Mrs. Oldbanks as just sort of, oh dear, it's dreadful to say, but I was going to say part of the furniture. That's terrible. Oh no.
Some people are that way.
Huh.
It never hurts to remember that everyone likes some things and dislikes other things. It helps.
That is true,
Mr.
Jennings, of course.
When dealing with people.
Don't know. I suppose she does like it when you. She does like it when you. Do you know? I once gave her a little plant, and I think she liked it. She sort of went, which I think was a smile.
So she's one of those marvelously expressive people, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think I know that she doesn't like students because they break things, and she doesn't like the faculty because we ask for things, and I don't think she likes her employees very much because they also break things, ask for things, and don't do things fast enough.
That would be maddening.
It is a challenging position that she occupies.
Perhaps she just needs someone to help her see the good in it.
Yes, well, if you will forgive me, I do hate to kick you out, but I actually do have quite a bit of work to do. We are coming up on the coming up towards midterms here, and I do have quite a few papers to grade before I can turn my attention back to my darlings and enjoy a beautiful sunset. But Mr. Jennings, please do call upon me another time. In a couple weeks, the students will be taking, it is the long homecoming weekend, actually, this weekend. And things will be a little calmer after that.
Ah.
You have students running everywhere, running amok. Very exciting.
Before we step out,
Dances,
Professor,
parties. It's all happening.
Before we step out, Professor, I did have one question for you. Academic interest of mine.
Of course.
These new electrical light posts that they are installing.
Yes. Aren't they spectacular?
Well, I don't know.
Truly an amazing year to live in.
Are they indeed? Could one, in, say, a windowless room, grow plants under such a light in lieu of the sun?
Mr. Jennings, that is a fascinating question. Generally speaking, I have found that artificial light does not grow plants nowhere close to sunlight. If a plant requires sunlight, of course. I'm sure you are familiar with rhubarb and the unique properties thereof.
I am, forgive me, not a botanist. Does rhubarb not require the sun?
It grows better without the sun. Mr. Jennings, you have not lived until you have walked into a pitch-black basement, snuffed out your candle, and listened to the sound of thousands of rhubarb plants growing so fast you can actually hear the leaves rustling.
Incredible.
Oh,
so you
it is
are in
amazing.
favor.
Fascinating.
You're in favor of these lights being installed, then?
I honestly hadn't considered it. I suppose it'll be interesting. It's always nice to see something new and exciting going up. That reminds me, I do have to ask Mrs. Oldbanks if I can get my basement back. It's just about time for my rhubarb experiment again, and Professor Noble has kidnapped my basement room for her students, which is ridiculous. She's an antiquities professor.
The fiend. Well,
Professor Noble. Yes, you know why? She says that she is going. This is actually, it's so frustrating. Because it's the perfect room, but unfortunately, Mrs. Noble and her hoity-toity little circle of special students apparently need my basement room for the highly important delving into the history of Old Fair.
And that has to be done in a basement. Couldn't they do that anywhere?
Well, in fairness, I do suppose one needs a basement to get into Old Fair. Because it is, down.
Oh, that sort of delving. I understand.
Yes. Oh, yes. I do mean that very literally. They are quite literally, as I understand it, digging up my basement, which is ridiculous. I can't imagine these. I don't need to complain about the professor.
well.
But in fact, I do mean to complain about her, and I will. It's ridiculous. She is Professor Noble. She is Chairwoman Villette's favorite. And her precious little circle of students can just do anything they like. Charles hasn't shown up for class in a week.
Charles,
yes.
It's amazing what some people get away with.
It is an absolute shame.
well,
Is he one of the
I
students?
asked his sister, where is Charles? And Camille just looks at me with these big eyes and says, he's indisposed. He's indisposed, Professor. I'm so sorry. Frustrating.
That's what they all say.
perhaps he is lost in the tunnels of Old Fair.
Perhaps he is. Perhaps that's why Professor Noble won't give me my room back. She can't
They're
admit
looking
she
for a
lost one of
student.
them. Actually, if you happen to find out that that's what happened, will you let me know, Mr. Jennings?
I will absolutely let you know immediately.
Appreciate
that would be a horrible circumstance.
Well, Professor Wallace, thank you so much for this information. We appreciate you giving us this time. We'll get out of your hair before the next class starts.
Oh, thank you so much.
Indeed. Farewell.
It's Charles and Camille Michaels. Find out if Professor Noble lost one of her students.
I will, on the way out, use my prestige ability And, oh, no, what? Yeah, I have to roll and maybe take a harm for that. So never mind. I'm not going to do it.
You could just do a small something happened to be up your sleeve magic trick for flavor.
Sure, why
Yes,
not?
you
I just want to
prestidigitation.
give her a flower that was not one of hers.
You can absolutely, for free, just do a quick little prestidigitation trick and present her. What is the flower that you give her? I'm assuming you knew you were walking towards Professor Wallace this
Yeah,
whole way, so you
sure.
had ample opportunity to plan ahead and grab this flower. What is it you give her?
I think it's just the most unique flower I have seen since yesterday. It has it's like a rose, and it's like pink but with yellow tips.
Oh, she takes it. It's like, Mr. Jennings, so very thoughtful.
I knew you'd
Thank
like
you.
it. All right.
And she puts it in the cup of half-filled cold coffee on her desk and goes right back to grading papers.
My kind of woman. Let's get out of here.
What a
As we walk
pleasant.
the halls with the students, I just want to keep an ear out to see if there's any rumors happening of disappearances or if it's all just business as usual.
Yeah,
I was going to
absolutely.
say, a
Go
whisper
ahead.
in someone's ear. It's like, well, that's now 2 people we know that have disappeared.
Yes,
Indeed.
you
A
can go
student
ahead.
and a worker.
Let's call that. Let's call that a. You can call that a survey.
All
To
right.
keep an ear out as you are heading towards Mrs. Oldbank's office. Anybody can make a survey roll to listen for any rumors.
It's 1 dice and it's a gilded die.
I'm at the
5.
roll 2 and take the lowest
All right.
because I have no points in that. So
Yeah, same.
I now have a
Cool.
second drive.
Snake eyes.
Nice.
yeah, Snake Eyes is the lowest, and my lowest is a 5. How about that?
Okay. Very nice.
5 and a 6.
All right. So, Robin, on the way, let me see. You do. Let me think. What would be a reasonable thing for you to spot or to overhear as you are walking? On the way, I will say that you do. Since you are specifically listening for rumors going around, you have your ears pegged now to the names Charles and Camille Michaels. And as you are walking, you do happen to overhear a group of girls, or young ladies, I suppose, in their young women in their now 19, 20, walking by, and one of them is complaining that Camille has canceled once again her, she's canceled another gathering and is simply just dropped off the face of the earth, and it's ridiculous. And she just doesn't understand what is, griping about. She used to be such a. She thinks she's too good for us now. Is sort of the general attitude and tone that you do pick up from this. You happen to pick up this conversation. At the same time, let me go ahead and Mia, you also got a 5. I'm going to say, Mia, with that 5, it's not a rumor that you pick up, but you happen to, you spot on the way over to Mrs. Oldbank's rooms, you spot the Antiquities building. So you are pretty sure you know where to find Professor Noble, Professor Julia Noble, and where you might find her students, the students that were this small circle of students that are called out. Jennings, Thorn, 1, double 1s, double snake eyes.
I failed at looking around.
You try to drift over to a group of students, and they all just, you know the meme where everybody's at a party and they're holding red Solo cups and they're all just
They're
like
all
staring
just looking
at you?
me. Yeah.
Yeah, that is literally what happens. You try to, except without plastic Solo cups, you try to casually drift up to a group of students.
How do you do,
And-
fellow university students?
And they all just turn and stare at you. And it is unbelievably awkward until
Ta-ta!
Robin and Eunice bail you out. All right. You make it over to, that does take you all the way to Mrs. Oldbank's office. It is a closet. It is a repurposed broom closet, very obviously. There are still brooms in this closet as you kind of nudge your way in around the door that as it swings open. And you see indeed a startlingly nondescript woman hard at work at her desk. Her hair is a graying blonde. Her clothing is plain and doesn't fit her very well. Feels very off the shelf or purchased secondhand and just sort of belted and a little bit wrinkled to take in to make it fit for her. And she looks up and looks at the three of you and just gives you this long-suffering look, and she says, "I don't suppose you're here to apply for work, are you?"
Not at all, madam. I would like to close the door, and now I would like to use my prestige ability.
Okay.
So, my magic is usually all smoke and mirrors, but you do have one trick you've learned that's real. Roll sense when you perform it, and on a success, take a bleed mark. Circle one option. So the option I circled was summon mundane object. So I am rolling sense, which is 2 dice. I have gotten a 6.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm going to mark a bleed. And I am going to produce a fake ID that says I'm a cop.
Well. And what name is it under? What name does the ID say? Is it your name or is it somebody else's?
It says Born Hennings.
She kind of squints at it, puts on her little pince-nez and looks at it like, all right then. And what can I do for you, Officer Hennings?
What was Diesenhost's first name? I didn't get that in my name.
Van.
I thought that was... Oh, well, never mind. Yes, we're investigating the disappearance of Van Diesenhost. He was, I understand, an electrician working for you here at the university?
She notes... She does ask you why, and you ignore that, and she just sighs like, "Yes, officer, he was, we must be new at all times, and so we must have the electricity. He was one of our groundskeepers who volunteered to learn it. Yes, that is correct. He was interested in learning it, and he was small enough to get up on the ladders without breaking them. So yes, he was a good employee right up to the point when he vanished on me. Why are the police investigating this? Did something happen to Mr. Giesenhorst?
Well, that is what
I
we are
was
trying.
rather under the impression that he simply did not show up for work, as people are increasingly inclined to do in this day and age.
That is exactly what we are trying to determine. Normally, a person not showing up for work would not be matter for the police, but occasionally there are those who don't show up to work because they don't show up anywhere else either. And it has been reported by a number of his acquaintances. Now, we heard from... I can't give you the person's name, but we heard from someone that he was actually seen at work the day he disappeared. Is that correct?
Well, I know that he was at work and then he wasn't. He didn't show up the next day, so I suppose if you wanted to find that as the day he disappeared. He was at work, let me see, today is Friday. He was last reported to work on Wednesday. He, as I understand it, did a full day's work, and then he did not show up for work on Thursday.
So
and that is...
He's been missing 2 days by your count. Is that correct?
He hasn't shown up for work 2 days.
But he was here, and you say he did do a full day's work on Wednesday.
Unless his cronies on their little team have decided to cover for him, but I don't see why they would at this point.
And how long have you been involved with organized crime?
I beg your pardon?
Yeah. You just throw that out every now and then, and sometimes you catch one.
Well, I am curious.
Mr. Hennings, if I was involved with organized crime, I would be in a much, much nicer office.
You'd be surprised how many organized criminals say that.
Say that if they were involved in organized crime, they'd be in a nicer office?
Absolutely. By disguising one's wealth, they very commonly disguise their connections.
Mr. Hennings, I don't mean to be rude, but is there a point to this? I am...
Yes,
to
well,
the
it's
best
just
of
that
my
we've
knowledge,
heard so many
Mr.
reports on this man from so many different angles that we are convinced there is something bigger going on involving his disappearance.
Well, I can't help you with that. People are irresponsible.
Do you have his
days.
home
They
address?
simply do not. Yes, I do. I'm happy. And she gets up
We
and
also
goes
have
over
his
to a
home
filing
address.
cabinet.
Yeah, I know, but I want to see where her files are.
Yes. Well, she opens up a drawer that has a few stacks of journals, like big ledgers, and she's paging through one looking for it. She's like, well, I think you're wasting your time. If that many people have reported him, perhaps something has happened, but honestly, I can't be blamed for this. I can barely keep track of the people I do have who bother to show up every now and then.
Well,
Do you know that is the third person who has simply failed to show up for work in the last 3 weeks?
and could you provide me with the names of the others?
Certainly, why not? If they're not going to be here, then I can at least send the police to bother them at home as well. And she will happily write out for you. You sit there and she is flipping through pages and hands you, within about 5 minutes of research and writing, she hands you a piece of paper that have 3 addresses on it. The first name is Van Giesenhorst. The address does match what Mademoiselle Charaslovsky found for you. You notice that right away. The 2 new names that she provides for you it says Ruth Alsop, and next to it, in parentheses, Scout.
Okay.
And then the second name is Olga Smith, and in parentheses next to it, it says Scullery Maid Jr. And both of these have addresses. All 3 of these addresses are in South Soffit.
Okay. One last thing before we leave. Since these 3 individuals are no longer employees of yours, would you mind very much if we borrowed your files on them? And whatever other information you might have.
I'm not a newspaper, Officer Hennings. I don't keep files on people. I take down their name and their address. When they do a week's worth, they come and they receive their wages.
Surely you have records of the wages paid?
and she points to the journal and it is in fact a journal. Like, if she cannot, you can see that this is not like sorted out by employee. This is sorted out by week.
Copy.
So she is quite right in, like, she doesn't have a file to give you. She if she were to hand you their file, it would be her entire ledger of work.
Well,
Mrs. Oldbanks, before we move on,
say, actually, before you move on really quickly, Steve, would you roll for me let's roll a focus or survey.
okay, I'll do focus.
Actually, any one of you can do that because all three of you are in this office and you are all looking over her shoulder as she shows you this ledger.
I don't know what I'm focusing on, but I have rolled a 1, so I'm not very focused on it.
I will also, is it better to do focus or survey? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. I will, whatever you're higher in.
I have the same in both, so I'll roll and let you pick 5. Hey.
Okay.
I rolled 2 5s on focus. One of those is the gilded dice. So.
Very good. All right. So Thorn, you really get nothing, and in fact, you crowd up a little too close to Mrs. Oldbanks, and she's like, ugh. You're just giving everybody the wrong vibes today.
It's really not the character I built, but you know, everyone's got off days. Everyone's got off days.
You keep rolling these ones. But Robin and Eunice, you both are able to pick up from these ledgers that it looks like the last day that Ruth Alsop got paid was the Wednesday of the prior week. It looks like she was paid for 3 days last week. And it looks like Olga Smith was also last paid on a Wednesday, 2 days prior, or 2 weeks prior.
Okay.
I super don't notice that. I'm just like, my eye itches. Oh, I'm sorry to bump into you like that.
And Mrs. Oldbanks, one more thing before we get out of your hair. If we were also investigating the disappearance of a student while we were here, is that something we would discuss with you, or is that something we should be discussing with admissions?
I just go straight to the taverns, dear, and start looking there.
Marvelous, thank you.
Do feel free not to come back. And she is going to slam the door on all of you.
Rude.
Wow, I hadn't even walked out yet. She's just slammed the door while I'm still in the room.
She is just out.
Yeah, the door shoves
She
you
is
as
showing you the door. Here it is. And there's the other side of it.
What if I was the undercover boss?
She would not care.
She'd be fired.
And as you...
Absolutely not.
And I will add, as you are unceremoniously clipped into the hallway and the door slams behind you, there's a moment of quiet as you are in this hallway, and then a little from the other side. And you turn and you see
Mom
down the hallway with a leaning against the door with kind of her heel kicked up against the wall, looking very amused, is a well put together young woman, black hair coiled tightly on top of her head. Says, well. And
Greetings,
she holds
Mrs.
up
Natali.
She holds up the note you left for her. I understand you're looking for me. And that is where we're going to take our break.
Woot. All right. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll do our second half after our little break here. We'll see you guys. It would be exactly 10 minutes on the dot.
Yep, that's exactly what we just took.
10 minutes exactly.
Yes.
Next time we let Eunice time it.
We had a quick rules discussion just to review some stuff behind the scenes, but we are ready to keep going.
Yes.
Y'all have chatted with, You've received your assignment from Madame Charoslavsky, your lightkeeper. You have spoken with Professor Kiko Wallace and now Mrs. Virginia Oldbanks, gathered up some information that the disappearance of Van Giesenhorst, electrician for the campus, seems to perhaps not have been an isolated event. There are at least 2 other members of the campus staff that have gone missing, and at least 1 student as well, who has not shown up for class recently. And so on that note, you have just, after leaving Miss Oldbank's office, you have been accosted, so to speak, by Miss Farah Naftali, who has your note that you left for her. And now would be a great time to tell me exactly what is written in the note that you left for her, probably about, we'll say an hour and a half, 2 hours ago.
Oh, it must have been longer than that. We crossed town. We were walking for part of it. But
so is it now about 3 o'clock? About 4? It was 3 o'clock. Is it about 6 or 7 or 8 in the evening now?
Sure.
We'll say 7:30.
Okay. I could have told you what that note said right when I wrote it. Let's see. It was, I think, it's just an acknowledgement that that we know she's working on the same case as us, and we are willing to exchange information if it is warranted.
All right. And that is the note that you have left for her. And did you sign it? What did you sign it?
Oh, Thorn
you sign it
Jennings,
with your name?
with great big swirls.
Okay.
The T and the J are like they're all the way the full length of the page.
And I would have made some comment to you to include in your verbiage that we are of one mind of let's keep this under wraps and hidden. We're with you in working together on that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That you always say that when you talk to the OUP.
The OUP, Office of Unexplained Phenomenon.
The OOP.
And that brings us to now, as Miss Naftali is holding up your note, Thorn, and she tucks it back into her jacket pocket. Says, "Received your message, Mr. Jennings. So very kind of you to offer to share information. I am, of course, familiar with you, Mr. Jennings. It's a very generous thought to think that you might have information that I do not."
Ha! You oops, always ribbing.
And she turns to you, Robin, and says, "And Miss Stragan, how lovely to see you."
Indeed, Miss Naftali, it's a pleasure to see you here. Indeed, it is not often I find you so very far ahead of us. It seems somehow you managed to get quite the jump on this one.
Yes, as I thought, useless. Miss Grimshaw. Now you I might actually have some use for here. Miss Grimshaw, I have always wondered, how exactly did you come to be mixed up with these 2, what is the word I'm looking for? Light-hearted individuals.
The lightest.
The circle of gleam and gloom, I believe you call yourselves?
I believe
Are they
I'm
the gleam
gloom.
and you are...
Exactly. We were paired as a team by others. I don't dislike their company. They just are a little more...
Gleaming.
I don't know. Yes, that would be the word for it. A little more outgoing, a little more sociable, whereas I tend to not be.
Well, and she stands up, brushes herself, non-existent dust off of her skirts, and is like, "Well, as it happens, Miss Grimshaw, I do in fact require your assistance. Please accompany me. Your people may come if they insist." And she is going to just take off down the hallway. Do you follow?
As I follow, I kind of like shout behind her. It's like, they do have their uses.
Undoubtedly.
You should not discount their abilities so soon.
Mhm.
Are we
Why?
heading to Professor Noble's excavation project?
Farah does pull up at that and like, all right, I'll give you credit. You worked very fast. Yes, that is indeed exactly where we are going.
Oh, yeah.
Have you made any pie from the rhubarb yet?
I'm sorry, Miss Stragan, what was that? You broke up.
Have you made any pie out of the rhubarb yet?
I believe that the rhubarb is quite long gone. Your dear friend, Professor Wallace, removed it, and it has already been made into pies. Let us, please. And she's going to keep walking. And you are indeed heading back towards the physical sciences building where the basement is located at.
You know what I'd
Rhubarbs
like about
and
these
lettuce.
groups?
That's an interesting combination.
What was that mean?
Eunice's really. It was Eunice's poor attempt at a joke. Lettuce and rhubarbs is a very interesting combination.
Yes, well, I must admit I have not been terrifically focused on what Professor Wallace was doing with the room prior to Professor Noble, and more to the point, Professor Noble's students taking it over. I am sure you have put together the pieces by now.
Yes, she blamed her students when you questioned her, no doubt.
Do you know that is exactly what she did?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Jennings, have you encountered... There is actually one question I do have for you. Do you have any information on what might have happened to Charles Michaels?
Why would we know anything as useless as we are? No, never even heard the name. Haven't talked to his sister. Don't know that she's not answering people's calls either. Hasn't come up, no.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Did you get the names of the people who have disappeared from this campus?
Now,
Not for you, no.
Robin, dear, we did agree in advance to share information. We have
Until she
you
decided
did.
we were useless. Our information clearly is of no value to her.
We have some names.
I have some names as well.
Perhaps.
Are you
we
familiar with...
Your lists.
Yes, just as I was about to say, Eunice.
Farah will pull out from her a different pocket that had your note. She pulls out a different piece of paper, and she will hand it. And she is setting a very quick walking pace. But she will hand it back towards you, Thorn, because you were the one who wrote the note.
Flip, what's it got on it?
It has on it the names Margaret Olpeg. Sorry, I lost a word there. Margaret, in parentheses, Olpeg Markham, comma, Beggar, and a date that is 4 weeks prior. It has the name, it also has the name of Olga Smith, Ruth Alsop, which are the other two people that you have. It has Van Giesenhorst on it, and it has a fifth name. It says Sammy Lou's child.
Sammy Goose?
Luz. L-U-Z. Luz. Luce.
Was that on the same Wednesday as one of the other names?
No, there is no date on it.
So the child and the student, we don't know if they're also Wednesdays or if they're extra days.
Indeed. Farah is looking quite annoyed. Like, nobody seems to be able to tell exactly when Mr. Michaels pulled his disappearing act. He seems to have done what one might call a slow fade. Certainly nobody has seen him for at least a week since this Monday. The last person I can find who actually saw him was Sunday. Apparently he made a bit of a scene at chapel.
Well, that means that Mr. Michaels is our pattern breaker. I do not know these names, Old Peg or Sammy. They are new to me, but of the three that we got from Miss Oldbanks, Van Diesenhorst, Roos Alsop, and Olga Smith, their last day of work, every one of them were on subsequent Wednesdays. Each of them disappeared either a Wednesday night or Thursday morning.
Farah takes the paper back from you, and as you are walking, she is adding notes in pencil to that effect.
How your pencil it seems worn down quite a bit. I can get you another one if you need a better pencil.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. I am capable of providing my own pencils.
Well, it's barely a nub. The thing is quite small.
As you like. And you have by now made it back to the biology, to the physical sciences building.
As we're walking, I'm just going to ask, are you flirting with her? Are you trying to get a date right now?
No, but it is not dissimilar from what I would do if I was.
And as you're saying this, she turns around and says to the three of you, let me be perfectly clear. I understand who you are. I am extremely familiar with your organization. I know who you are. I know your skill set. And I assure you, if I were not under the greatest of time pressure right now, I would not be sharing information with you. But Ms. Grimshaw has certain abilities, and I believe you can assist me. Sammy Luce, and she holds up the list again. The child on this list was last seen this morning. I believe we may be in time to save him.
Friday for the child.
Yes. As they say, the pace is increasing. And with that, she will lead you down into the basement. So you arrive down in this basement, and let me take a second to set this scene. You can see the remainder of Professor Wallace's experiments. There are quite a few of her long, low tables that have been unceremoniously piled up over by the door, which is the most finished portion of the room. You can see that this is indeed has certain characteristics of old fare. This room is pretty clearly, as much of the eaves is, built on and around the ruins of old fare. The stonework here is of a different era, and built into the floor are grooves and that indicate that this is the grooves are slightly out of line with the building that suggest that somebody built a different foundation on top of this. This is not the original building that was built on top of this room. And above all else, you notice that there's no other way out of this room other than the door, the very normal door that you just came down, that is very clearly of New Fare. She looks around, gestures to this room, and says, I have no abilities here, but Miss Grimshaw, I believe that you do. What can you tell me? What can you sense in this room? They were up to something, those antiquities students. Charles Michaels, Camille Michaels, Magella Pritchard, Ricard Montenegro, and Arthur Palace. The 6 of them. Charles Michael disappeared a week ago after having a fit of some sort in the campus chapel. The other 5 have done quiet and gentle fade. None of them has been seen in the last 3 days.
What would you consider a fit?
From what I understand, he stood up in the middle of the pastor's sermon, which I understand I've been told was not a very good one, rather dull. People were quite happy to inform me, and started frothing at the mouth, clutching his side, writhing in pain, while his sister and Mr. Montenegro and Mr. Palace rushed him out before help could be summoned.
So they definitely were aware of whatever was the cause.
Yes. Witnesses say that they saw Mr. Michael turning an unnatural shade of gray. Some say a shade of gray, some say a shade of green. All of them agree that he looked skeletal, was the word that many of them used. As if he was just skin and bones for a moment there. Which I find a very interesting choice of words to be repeated by multiple witnesses.
Before you open yourself up to the influences of this place, Eunice, perhaps, is this something that sounds at all familiar to you, this sort of creature that hunts on this cyclical sort of, I guess it's building at this point, but weekly cycle and draining its victims? Does that ring any bells for you?
Let me consult my arcane text.
By all means. So if you want to say, let me see what you have in your equipment. You do. You have an arcane text. So if you carry with you a reference book, this can be, it can be a pre-existing book. It can be your book of sort of your scrapbook of notes and things like that. Gesundheit. Go ahead and describe to us what is the reference book that Eunice is carrying with her today.
I would say it's leather bound, roughly 7 inches by 11, with a strap that ties on the front, and the parchment paper inside is roughly hewn, and she etches in it with a pen herself, like a fountain pen. Has copied various notes from other tomes and made her own notes, yes.
All right. Let's call this a sense roll then. Go ahead and take a look at your book, see what you think.
All right, that is with a gilded dice. That is a 5 total.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 5 on one dice. We're not going to use the gilded dice this time.
Okay. All right. So with a 5, that is, of course, a success with consequences. And so this is, as you are paging through your book, this is tricky because this is not a world where there are sort of set monsters with stats like zombies or skeletons or I don't know, Endermen. But what you do, how should I put this? It does sound to you like this definitely sounds like Charles Michaels may have been infected with bleed. That is very clear and very, very obvious. Bleed is the corruptive force left behind by being brushed with magic. So, of course, the question is, what did Charles Michaels brush up against that could have corrupted him? You are aware, of course, that it is the greatest threat is to be taken over, to have too much bleed, and be taken over entirely by supernatural forces. This is when it is so corruptive that it would cause you to lose your mind. There is an asylum, of course, you know of, that exists for people like this, as well as simply facing death. And I will say on a 5, that is, in terms of a bleed that requires, that sounds to you like the pattern of people disappearing on a regular basis. That's strange. So that is especially the rhythmic nature of this, because there's not really a creature that works so regularly, that magic and bleed are forces beyond our human comprehension. A creature that keeps to a human calendar, to you, that screams not a creature from beyond. That screams human intelligence.
Yeah, that somebody on this side is manipulating or trying to use the bleed for nefarious purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So and our victims may have been kidnapped.
And Miss Naftali is nodding, and Eunice, she is not so subtly eyeing that book of yours, like, my thought as well, Miss Grimshaw.
Going to slap the book closed while staring directly at her and tying it shut and then putting it back into a pouch. And then extracting the bleed detector to maybe get a reading of this room.
Very good. All right. How does the bleed detector... can you describe what this is and how it works?
I was just trying to find that in the book.
The book is notoriously short on details on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I think you're going to make this up.
Yeah.
Tell me, this is entirely up to you what this looks like.
I would say maybe it's like a cylinder that's got like a bulb at the end that's got a fluid in it, like a colored fluid, and the fluid kind of swirls around, and as I detect bleed, the fluid itself, maybe like a litmus paper, will shift colors to indicate a scale or level of bleed.
Very
like
nice.
A wand with a glass bulb on the end.
Love it. You pull out your bleed detector, and what does it look like when it detects bleed?
I would suspect it's more of like the fluid itself is kind of like a pale blue, but it will shift to like a green, and then further into a deep red as it gets more and more bleed detecting. Literally blood red.
You pull it out, and it almost immediately goes wild in this room. This room is absolutely festering with bleed. I'm going to ask you, go ahead and make another sense roll for me.
Okay. Behind my veil, my eyes go large.
Yeah, and Miss Naftali takes a step back.
That is a 6 on my gilded dice. Yay.
Okay, yeah. It is even with this, Miss Neftali takes a good, cautious few steps back, but you do not flinch. You do not. Your eyes may go wide, but you are well in mastery of the tools of your trade. You very easily walk the spiral in the room and trace the bleed to a single point where it is at the strongest, a single flagstone in the floor. You wave over Robin and Thorn, and between the three of you, it is a simple matter to find the place where this stone has already been loosened and to lift it up together. And you find the steps downward, glowing steps. Yes, this is a large flagstone that is unnaturally light when you get your fingers underneath it. It is far lighter than a stone of this size and shape should be.
So this is some of the alchemy of the old world left over, clearly. Then.
It is. And the underside of it is absolutely just glowing. A sickly green, slimy mold color. And as you look downwards, the stairs are spotted with green, and as Miss Neftali pulls out from her knapsack a bright lamp, explorer's lamp, and shines it down for you. You see that it is also spotted with red blood. And she looks up at the three of you and says, Sammy Luce was taken this morning. And she pulls out from under her jacket a gun, a little lady's Derringer pistol.
I produce from my sleeve also a little lady's Derringer pistol. And I will head down the steps.
All right. Do you go before she goes?
Absolutely. I'm not waiting for her to pull her gun out. I'm down the steps as soon as I see them, as soon as there's blood.
I'm not letting her behind me. I'm letting her go in front. I'm not letting her at my back.
All right.
And I'm keeping an eye on her because I'm expecting her to try and steal stuff from us.
She probably is going to try and steal stuff from us.
She is going, so Thorn leads the way with Thera right behind him. Robin and Eunice are bringing up the rear. And so you guys are going to head downwards.
Since we have a course, I'm going to close the magically light stone above us so that we don't have people follow us through, theoretically.
Yep. All right. Fair enough. Okay. So you guys are going to proceed down the stairs. As you do, it doesn't take very long to see light ahead of you. And Farah, Miss Neftali quickly covers her lantern, and you realize this is a thief's lantern. It has a cover that she can open and close the candle, which is focused through mirrored glass. So she does that, and you are in the dark, and you can see faintly a dim light ahead of you, and you can hear just the drip of water. And just an odd silence. Like you would expect, seeing this voice and shadows moving maybe 50 feet down the stairs and through a doorway. You would expect to hear something, some kind of voices, but the silence is simply eerie until the quiet is broken just by a deep, pained moan that resonates through your bones. And it's followed by a second moan that matches it in pitch, just a couple octaves up, that is human. And Thorn, you're in the front. What would you like to do? The light has shut off. It is dark. You are looking down towards this lit doorway.
So question about the space.
Yeah.
Is it a straight hallway ending in a door, or are there branches? Like, what's going on here?
So Farah has shut the lamp off immediately, lest, somebody be warned of your presence by the light. All you can see right now is the faint light ahead of you. And the staircase that you are going down is... let me see, how do I describe this?
Well, before she shut off the light, could I tell whether there were side hallways branching out, or is it a straight shot?
No. What this is a staircase that is opening and curving down the side of a tower. To your right is this wall. It's like curving down the side of an open tower. To your right is the wall. To your left is a sheer drop-off down towards the floor. The floor you've seen, it's about another maybe 2 stories worth of stairs downwards in this large space. And at the bottom, you can see of this tower or this large well, you can see a doorway with light coming out of it. You cannot see what else is down at the bottom of the floor.
Okay. So I don't think that I have said this, but I've kind of been picturing Thorn with a cane. I would like to use it to feel my way forward as quickly as I can without being in danger of banging my shin on something. I'm heading for the door.
All right. You proceed downwards, carefully checking each step. Farah is going to follow closely behind you at a safe distance, so she's not stepping on your heels, but she is also carefully feeling her way down each step, but moving pretty quickly. You can't see her as you can't see each other as more than shapes in gloom. She is going to, well, no, she's not. She's going to leave the lamp off. She's going to trust her training to carry her down here. Robin and Eunice, are you following?
Yes.
Then I'm going to have everybody make a move roll, please.
Oh, ouch.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, that's not good.
I get to make it as a straight roll. Yay. I have a dot.
Move. Oh, that's nice. A 5 and a 4, so 4.
4? Okay.
I also got a 4.
I got a 2, but I'm going to spend my resistance to re-roll one.
Very good.
I got a 4.
Hey, 4s all around.
All right, and let me, you know what, I'm actually going to roll 4. Play this fair. Roll. All right, weirdly enough, Farah also got a 4. So it really is 4s all around. I actually rolled 2 and I rolled double 4s. So truly 4s all around. So you do all make it down the staircase. And let me see. So this is a success. Nobody is going to fall. But as you proceed downwards, it's hard to say exactly who it was, but somebody happens to catch the heel of their shoe on an old piece of rock, and it does echoing down the stairs. You all freeze. You are about 10 steps from the bottom, and the moan that's coming from down the door stops, cuts off, both the human moan and that deeper moan. You hear, finally, sudden raised, whispered human voices. You can't make out what they're saying, but there's definitely talk. And you can hear, the only thing you can hear is somebody, it's an argument. A brief one.
I'm still heading for the door.
Yes.
In no way do I stop when I hear the rock go.
Okay. You are still heading for the door, and if you are doing that, Farah's coming up quickly behind you to stay, so you're not going out by yourself. And you see...
I froze.
Yes.
Can I, that listening of hearing those voices, can I get any sort of a vibe off it as far as what it is that we're walking into? Any sort of does it sound like two humans? Do they sound old? Do they sound young?
Yeah.
Does it sound like a human and something else?
Sure, roll me a read.
Okay. 3. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to call this one. I haven't been calling low.
Oh, wait a second.
High.
I'm going to use one of my drives and roll an extra die.
Okay.
I have 4. One better.
Okay. So you do pick up that this sounds to you, you've heard your share of frantic whispered conversations in tight spots, and that's what this sounds like, is a quick, fast argument of, it's probably like somebody trying to be like, why are you freaking out? This is nothing, versus somebody going like, no, go and check it out.
Yeah.
And exactly. And you see the shadows in the doorway lengthen. Somebody is coming. And I'm going to say that the consequence, though, is that you are the only one who has this information, because this is too late to whisper it to anybody else without giving away your location.
Yeah, I stopped. They kept going.
You guys are shadowy, and I'm also going to say that you stopped and Eunice cannot get past you. So that is going to be the consequences, that you and Eunice are now separated by a few steps from Thorn and Farah, as somebody is coming out of the tunnel. Thorn, you and Farah do see that this person is coming. Farah will actually give you a light tap on the shoulder and sort of gesture, as best you can tell, gesture you to the side, where it looks like she wants to set up an ambush. Do you do what she suggests, or are you going to do something different?
No, I'm going to do the same thing. If she's going to the side, I'm just going to the opposite side.
Okay. If you want to, because if you mean crossing across the lighted passageway where the light is shining out, that is going to be a challenge, because you're going to be literally walking into the light.
Wait, I'm sorry, my understanding of the space doesn't match then, because you said it was a big open space, and there was one door with light coming from the door, and I said we were walking straight towards it. We should already have been directly in front of the door, and then when it opens, we split and go to opposite sides. That's what I'm picturing. That's invisible.
Yeah, I'm working on trying to get it close enough. No, I can't. Never mind.
Yeah. It is a well where the staircase is spiraling down along the side of it.
We're still on the staircase?
This is at the bottom of the staircase.
Yeah, you are at the bottom of the staircase.
Okay. No, I've been in my head off the staircase for the past couple of minutes.
No, you guys have just hit the bottom of the staircase, and there is maybe about 20 feet of flat, dirty ground before you get to the doorway. But the doorway is, you're curving along the wall, you and Farah.
Okay, so it's actually impossible for me to go to the opposite side if we're still on the staircase. And how can she go to the side? Because...
Well, what I mean is, if this is...
Sorry to be nitpicky, I just really don't understand what's happening.
So imagine that you guys are walking down the side of a well. It's a tower, and you're coming down the side of the well, and then the door is here. So you're going to get off the staircase and walk up to the side of the door. And that's where you guys both are, up against the wall. Because the wall that you're pressed against, you're walking down, is the wall that the door is in.
Yeah, that's completely different than the space I had in my head. Okay.
Ah, sorry.
I was imagining a spiral staircase around a central shaft, and that ended at the floor of an open room, and then somewhere else in that room was a door that we would approach. Okay, so the door is on the same wall we are leaning against. So when she goes to the side, is she getting off the staircase then?
Yes, you've made it to the bottom of the staircase, and she is pressed up against the wall. Your feet are in the dirt, where you have hit the bottom of this staircase.
Okay.
You have made it, because you have gone straight down. You've made it down. You are closer to the door than she is. She's not going to try to shove past you to the front.
If she's going to the side and I'm closer to the door, but you said 15 feet?
At this point, you have enough time to get within maybe 5 to 10 feet. And she's flattening herself against the wall where the door is. Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the same, but I'm going to get right up against the doorway.
Very good. So you do that. You guys have a second to set yourselves. And you see a small, the shadows that had seemed so enormous and huge suddenly resolve down, and the figure that walks out suddenly seems small and alone. Though it takes you a second to realize that this is just a normal human-sized human. It's just it's been built so up in your head that a normal-sized person seems impossibly small in this huge space. They are holding in their hand an actual burning torch, but they're not taking it very seriously. They walk straight out a couple feet from the edge of the wall, and you have about 3 seconds before they turn around and see you. What would you like to do?
Going in the doorway and flipping around to the other side of the wall, so I'm in the room he just came out of.
Okay. You can do that. Let me have you make... I'm going to call that is going to be a move, because you're going to dodge this person's notice.
Can it be a hide because I'm sneaking behind him?
Sure, why not? Have it be a hide.
Thank goodness.
I will also notice that Robin and Eunice have, if you guys want to try to hide, you can think about what you're going to do on your turn.
That is a 5 on my hide.
Okay.
But I am going to spend a drive for that, since we decided I have drive. I'm going to roll one more, see if it gets a 6. Nope, it's still a 5.
Okay. You do successfully make it around the doorway, but the cost of that is that at the same time that you do not realize, so focused you are on sneaking, that Farah has had a very different plan in her head, and she lets out a yell and charges, drops her lantern, and charges physically at this person. And she is going to make, it's going to be a strike roll for her, and she's going to spend a drive. Ha! She does successfully. She gets a 4 on her strike. So she does successfully tackle this person to the ground, but not before they let out a yelp that echoes in this chamber.
And Thorn on the other side of the wall just sighs heavily and rolls his eyes. Stupid cop who thinks the thing to do is yell and charge somebody in the dark.
Yep. I will say before other things start happening, Robin and Eunice, you guys can each take an action.
I'm going to draw my knife at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to flatten against the wall to let her pass me. I'm going to stay where I am for now and just kind of melt into the shadows and observe for the moment.
Yeah. I'll just kind of like scooch around you and then kind of slide down the wall and trying to remain slightly concealed as best I can to see what's happening.
Okay.
I hear the yell, but I'm like, what's that? I try to get a look without exposing myself as best as possible.
All right. So Farah is wrestling this person that she's got pinned down into handcuffs. I would like both Eunice and Robin to make a hide roll as well in order to remain out of sight. Yeah?
I dropped a 6, yes.
6, yes.
5.
All right. 5, okay. You guys do both successfully remain hidden. Though I will say, Robin, the cost of that is that for you there's enough rough rock and rubble that you guys are both able to get to cover, as are you, Thorn, with those successful rolls. Where even if, once you're in the tunnel, even if somebody came out, looking for you, there's enough rubble that you can hide yourself behind. The consequence of that 5 for you, Robin, is that you are in a not easily navigable place. I will say, Eunice has more freedom to move and to continue. You are kind of stranded behind a big boulder on the side of this stairwell where it is open on either side of you. It would be very challenging for you to move from this point. Now that there is a torch in this room and it's better illuminated.
Yeah.
But let me go ahead and cut back to Thorn, because you have actually made it down into this passage. And what you see as people are turning and running is you realize that the other people in this, you're able to see into the chamber. Not too far, but enough to see 2 or 3 other people come running to the doorway to look down. And you can see that these are kids. These are teens, maybe early 20s. These are students who are coming, and they are dressed very well, for they're dressed like students who are well-to-do and respectable. None of them have the torch, so they are staring out, looking and yelling. None of them have come towards you yet. What would you like to do? Because you are...
Am I in full view of them at this point?
No, you successfully hid. You found a boulder or an outcropping to get behind.
Okay, I was expecting a room when I went through the door, not a hallway. So I am looking down a hallway that they are at the other end of.
Yeah, it's a short hallway. It's like 20 feet. And you can just see, if you want to look past them, you can, but you've got to, you've got 2 people, I'll say it's 2 people between you and the room that's down the hall from you.
Well, fortunately, I also happen to have a smoke bomb.
Hey, here we go.
So I imagine it's just like a little cherry bomb, just rolls out right in front of their feet, and they look down at it just before it goes off, and just fills that into the corridor with smoke, which I then calmly walk through.
Fantastic. Give you that one for free. Robin and Eunice, while that is sufficiently loud and distracting that it takes the fight out of this person that Farah is wrestling down, and you can now hear this person go, as this person goes limp and unresisting, you can hear her, because it is a her, saying, no, you have to help him. Please help him. Please, I tried to stop them. You have to help him. He's dying. Please, please, I don't want to do this anymore. You have to help him. What would you like to do?
I'm going to move down to where the officer is.
Mhm.
Sarah, you said Sarah. I keep
Farah with an F.
Farah. Okay,
Oh,
that's what I thought. So I go down to Farah, and I'm like, I say, well, I can keep an eye on this one if you want to proceed further.
Farah immediately takes you up on. Actually, she stands and looks at you, and then looks up at Robin and says, "No, I need you with me." And she says to you, Eunice, and she looks down at this girl she's got handcuffed, who is sort of half curled up in the dirt now, and says, what does she say? She says, "You're Pritchard, huh?" And the girl's kind of sniffling, like, yes, yes. And Naftali shakes her head and says, "This is the one who tipped us off. Come on." And she's going to grab you by the hand, Eunice, or by the arm, as you let her. And she is going to drag you down towards the smoke, and towards the end of this chamber. And so I'm going to say that you guys are all going to... it's easy to get past these two kids who are coughing and choking. Thorn, you get through this room first, assuming that you walk through the smoke and into the chamber. And Farah and Eunice are just a step behind you. Robin, what do you want to do as you see Farah dragging Eunice off down the hallway?
She said that the girl she cuffed on the floor was the one that tipped them off.
Yep.
So I'm going to the girl on the floor. I'm going to pull out my burglary equipment and do the illegal thing of picking her handcuffs.
There you go.
And kind of calm her down a bit and say, "It's all right. We're here to help. Tell me what happened. The more you can tell me, the more we'll be able to help.
Please, please, we just want to help Charles. We just want to help Charles, and everything got out of control. It's... Look, I didn't know. Please,
I'm sure it was a mistake. What happened?
It was a mistake. It was all a mistake. Please, you have to stop Camille. She'll do anything to save him. But I can't. Those poor people, I can't do this anymore. And as she's gasping for breath, Robin, make a... Let's see, what should we call this? Can you make a survey or focus roll for me?
Absolutely. Let's do survey. And I'm use one of my drive and roll a second dice on that.
Okay.
4.
Okay. Yeah, you see as this girl is squirming, you see something in the dark, and you grab the torch that she dropped and bring it closer to her face, and she flinches hard from this flame, harder than you'd think. But you can see through her skin, her jaw. For just a second, her skin takes on this strange gray-green, translucent shift over, and her jaw comes through.
Almost like she's been fed on and thinned out, or like something's taking over.
Like something is taking over, and the skin is losing its solidness. The flesh is being transmogrified into something less substantial. It's being thinned.
All right. What did he do?
Yes. And the consequence of that is, as you see it, that patch of skin suddenly, that flash of translucent skin suddenly flashes down her body, under the collar of this shirtwaist that she's wearing, and it disappears underneath it until it comes through on her hand. And you see it cut through her hand to yours. And just for a second, your hand goes translucent too as you snatch it back. And you are going to take 1 bleed damage.
Okay.
All right, we're going to cut back to Thorn, Eunice, and Farah as you guys all burst through the smoke, more or less together. Farah and Thorn both armed with their guns. The scene that meets... Yes?
I had my Lady Derringer.
That's right, Lady Derringer's all around. And the scene that meets your eyes is this. You find yourselves in a large chamber, what looks like it might have been an ancient cathedral or something even more ancient than Old Fair, the ruins that you are all familiar with and have seen. This feels like it's from a time even further back, where instead of the magically enhanced stone of Old Fair, this is something rougher, more primitive, more rough-hewn. Carved into the floor are the same rivulets and channels that you saw upstairs in the basement, but here they are focused into spirals and patterns and shapes, spinning around across this vast cavern that is got this high vaulted natural cathedral ceiling. You see writhing on the floor, being held down by a young woman, is a young man. He looks like he's been bound hand and foot, but not very hard, kind of gently, like somebody's gone to some trouble to try to make this comfortable. Like he's been tied with like strips of cloth rather than rope or chain or anything like that. And this young woman, same dark brown hair as him, is trying to hold him down, trying to stop him from writhing and saying, hold on, Charles, come back, we're trying, come back, stop it. You can see in another corner of the room, there is indeed a small child. There is a boy who looks, maybe he's about, who knows, maybe 8 or 9 years old, a street kid, kind of dirty. Hard to say, exactly how old he is under all that dirt, but he is fighting for his life. He has been tied up with considerably less care and is doing his best to kick his way out of the bindings. He's already gotten a foot free, and he is fighting for his life. The 2 people you charged past are coughing and choking and kind of trying to get the smoke out of their eyes. These are 2 young men, one of them with black hair, one of them with blonde hair. And then the last denizen of the room, in the center of the room, and it hurts to look at this in a way that unsettles all of you, except perhaps for Eunice, who has seen something like this before. There is something alive in the center of this room. It is the size maybe of a small elephant, and that's about the same grayish color, but that is the extent of the resemblance. It looks like a giant slug of some type, but you look at it again, and it doesn't look like a slug, but like a writhing octopus, all tendrils and tentacles stretching everywhere. And you look again, and it's not a slug or an octopus, but it's some sort of horrible spider covered with eyes, not just where the head would be, but covered with eyes everywhere, all over its body, eyes of different sizes, different shapes. it is chained down in the center of this room. And I'm going to ask everybody to make a sense roll.
I'm so glad I stayed outside.
Yes.
That's a 4.
That is a 4.
Okay. And I'm going to have Farrah roll.
I will spend a drive, though, to roll one more dice.
Okay. All right.
A 5. Okay.
Okay. All right. And I will remind you guys at this point you have enough drive to assist each other when it comes to these rolls. Okay, so on your 5s, you guys are going to look at this thing, and both of you notice immediately that as the boy with the dark brown hair on the floor, who is tied, not the boy but the young man, is writhing, the same flashes of gray are going over his skin, and he is writhing, and the flashes are happening in time with this creature that is chained in the center of the floor. There is clearly a connection here between this student and this creature. And out of 5, I'm gonna have both of you go ahead and take a bleed, unless you want to roll a resistance. Unless you have a resistance to roll.
In intuition, I do.
Okay.
I got a 6.
You succeed. You feel this, Jennings, you feel this unsettling thing. It pushes at your brain in a way that you do not want to acknowledge, but you feel Farrah grab, as she is holding on to Eunice with one hand, she grabs you with the other, and you feel in your hand the gun, the cold metal of the gun, and between those two things, it draws you back to the real world, and you maintain your focus. You take no bleed. Eunice, did you want to try to roll resistance if you have one? You don't have to.
Yes, in my intuition. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You also go ahead.
Rolling 1 dice for that.
Yes.
A 3.
Okay. So you can't go lower. So you do still hold on to the knowledge that you do. Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to re-roll the number of dice equal to the rating of the action used for the previous roll. So whatever your sense roll was, you're going to roll that number. You can add another dice if there was more than 1.
4. Okay.
Okay. All right. So you still hold on to that answer, but you do not. You do still take your bleed. All right. And that is going to, the kid on the actual child, who you can presume is Sammy, screams across the room to you, "They've gone mad! They're trying to feed me to that thing!"
Yeah, we get it. I'm going to walk up to the girl and clock her in the head with my cane, and at the same time shoot the monster.
I'm going to say you can do one of those actions.
I'm absolutely clocking the girl with the cane.
Do it. Roll a strike.
Oh, God. I hope this is
I will
good.
run over and cut the boy loose. But yeah.
Okay.
That's a 3. Wait, how does spending drive work? I just add a die?
Yeah.
It's a 4 then.
Okay. So you do in fact manage to, and you said you hit her with the cane?
Yeah. Right in the head. I want to knock her out.
You whack this young woman hard, and she doesn't even see you coming. She is focused on who you presume is your brother, because this is indeed Camille and Charles.
Yeah.
And she's yelling, "Just hold on, Charles! We're gonna feed it! Hold on! Hold!" And whack!
Yep.
You knock her over. No problem. She is down. I will say with a 4, she is down and stunned, but not unconscious. So you've knocked her out for maybe a couple of rounds here, but not entirely. And the real consequence is that when you knock her off of Charles, that is enough for Charles to snap his wrists free of these bindings. His feet are still tied, but his hands are free. And he looks up at you, Thorn, and his face the skin from his face is gone. You see eyes, lips, teeth, skull, and you can't tell if he's grinning or not, because you can't tell if he's grinning or screaming. Maybe it's both. But he just looks at you with eyes of just eyeballs, and he's going to lunge for you. And we'll pick that up in a second. Right now, let's cut back to Robin. What are you doing?
I really, at this point, I'm looking at this as being the secondary focus of the mission of find out how they got the information first, make contacts. I'm trying to convince this girl that my organization is the one to trust and that we can help her so that she will not run off if I leave her here, and that she will give us any information that she can. Once I've assured her that she's not going to do a runner, I'm going to make my way through the smoke to come help.
Absolutely. Go ahead and give me a sway roll, or you can give me a read if you want. Give me a sway if you want to convince her to your side. Give me a read if you want to know if she will remain here.
I want to sway her. I don't care if she stays as long as she's on my side.
Okay.
6! My first 6! What a time to get it.
Yeah. In just seconds, and we'll cheat a little and telescope time here. You wanted to know from her why she went to the OUP and win her to your side. Excuse me. Yeah, it's easy for you to extract from her very quickly what happened. What happened is that she, what you gather in a few seconds of time is that this girl actually knew somebody. There is a family connection for OUP. That's how OUP got to this first, is that she wrote an anonymous letter to OUP that something horrible was happening on campus, people were dying, and that they should, if they wish to see something of interest to them, they should contact, they should look into the disappearance of one Mr. Van Giesenhast. And that is how OUP got here first. And you do also reassure her that you are here to help. You are not OUP, but you work with them, and you are going to make sure that everything is okay and comes out okay and take care of her. And you sufficiently soothe her that that is a successful roll, and you can go ahead and take off down that tunnel after everybody else. And there's one last thing to do before I cycle back around to Thorn, and that is Farah is going to plant herself between, and actually Eunice, she's going to push you because you ran to the kid, so she's going to step away from Thorn, so she has a clean shot, not over Charles's head, but she's going to step to the side, and she is going to fire that gun directly at this hideous monstrosity. And
Someone had to do it.
And she fails miserably. So this is, oh, actually, you know what? This is going to be a second. Yeah, she still failed. And this thing turns its head to her. And Thorn, you see Charles, who was coming up to his feet, also snap his head around to Farah, and he is going to, with this inhuman strength, swing his arms around and start windmilling, dragging himself across the floor at inhuman speed towards her, like some sort of insane zombie creature, not even bothering to untie his feet. And we're going to loop back around. Everybody, we're at what is essentially the top of the round. And I will say, between Thorn and Eunice, you guys can actually decide who wants to go first, because we're not doing a strict initiative order here.
I'm going to shoot the monster.
All right. Go ahead and make a strike.
It's control for shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to roll. Gonna roll a 1 with my gun that has 1 bullet in it.
Yeah. So that just pings straight off of it. Doesn't even, beg your pardon, barely even makes a dent, and it seems to go through it. On a 1, it turns, and suddenly it is just a giant eye seems to manifest out of the center, focused on you, and it is, you look into this eye, Thorn, and it just, you see in the reflection of the eye, not yourself, but 1,000 writhing hands, gray hands stretching out. You feel this horrid sense of cold, of hunger, like you will never be warm, you will never be satiated ever again in your life. And poor Charles Michaels turns around from where he was headed towards Farah Naftali. He spins around on the floor, breaks free of the bindings on his feet, and charges full speed at you. All right, Eunice, you have successfully gotten to Sammy. You are pulling the ropes off of him. What would you like to do?
I have an ability that says let them in. Whenever you take 1 or more bleed marks, you also gain additional information about the phenomena that harmed me.
Yes.
So is there any information about this creature? Do I know a way to banish it or maybe kill it easily?
Yes. Eunice, as you are pulling the ropes off of Sammy, this kid is just babbling, and he is keeping up this stream of hilariously inappropriate profanity for a child his age. It's like, I'm gonna kill him! I'm gonna kill them all! Let me at him! And something about it is sort of a weird zen. You enter into this weird zen state that kind of pulls you out of the damage you took. And you find yourself staring past Sammy into one of the torches, because the torch that Magella took out to investigate the noise is not, the whole room has torches set into the walls, probably about maybe 7 or 8 of them. And you zone out past Sammy into the flame, and for a second you feel that old flame, that same flame you felt all those years ago. The fear, the pain, it comes back to you. But now it feels at a distance. Now it feels not as something happening to you, but you suddenly understand this is something that can happen to something else. And you feel in this moment of connection with this creature that there is something you two have in common, and that is a fear of fire. Is that...
Eunice, I just want to remind you that you're aware that Thorn can summon any mundane object to his hand.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I'm like, okay. As I kind of like snap out of it, I'm like, fire! I'm like, fire! Fire! And I just yell it.
I already fired at it!
No, fire! Flames, you fool!
Ah.
And you hear Farah shout back to you, Eunice. Excellent work, Miss Grimshaw. I have a more direct resolution. And she is going to point her gun and fire at point blank range into the back of Charles Michael's head.
Ah, damn it.
And so I am going to roll.
I was like, I'm gonna cut that boy myself, but
Am I not on the other side of him?
You sure are. She fails.
Who let you be a cop?
Not a cop. She
Clearly.
fires, but Charles is moving too fast, and her shots go wild. And Thorn, it does. Oh, beg your pardon. You do have to duck to get, like, you flatten yourself.
Ah, my bowler hat!
yeah.
Do you want her to have actually shot through your bowler hat?
Yeah, it blows my hat off, yeah.
It absolutely blows your hat off.
Ugh.
And that is going to be Farah's turn. She fails to eliminate the creature by eliminating its human connection. Robin, you have reached the floor just in time to hear Eunice
Flames, you
yelling,
fools.
"Flames, you fools!" I will also add that as you come through this door, you are flanked by the remaining two members of this little circle of antiquities students, and that is Ricart and Arthur. And the two of them have at last kind of cleared the smoke from their eyes, and they both see you and are going to go for you. So I would suggest this would be a great time to either do a strike, a move for dodge, or if you'd like to do something else, or if you want to try to sway them.
I'm going to try to sway. I'm going to turn at them and go, you two are in enough trouble already. Grab torches and throw them at this creature if you want to get out of this in one piece.
All right, roll your sway.
Okay. And I have one drive left if I need it. Let's see. And I'm going to use it because that was 2. That's a 4. Okay.
All right. So you do manage, as you say that, you can tell that the student with the black hair, who is Ricart, you get through to him. His heart isn't in this, and he kind of staggers to a stop and stares at you blankly. And you see an sort of this unnatural glossy sheen to his eyes as he's like trying to shake his head and clear it. But you are also tackled from behind. Arthur, you have not managed to convince. And so you have got Ricart on your side, but Arthur does pull you down to the ground. And I'm going to say take a mark for body. He is going to knock you down pretty hard. Unless you'd like to roll a resistance.
No, he can knock me over. If the other guy's hopefully going to grab fire, I'm at least moving in the right direction.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead and take your mark in body, and let's go ahead and head back to top of the round. Who would like to take action next? Because at this point, you're all in the room. You're all free to act. Eunice, you look like you're ready to grab some fire.
I want to, rush over and grab that torch off the wall, and then try and take a couple of quick steps and throw it towards the creature at the center of the room.
Very good. I will let you pick what you would like to do in this case. If you would like to make this a strike, or if you would like to make this a sense, because you can, or if you have anything in your specialty here that would be appropriate. I would say that for you, because you are attacking a creature of magic, and you are so attuned to magic, being the occultist that you are, you may use sense instead of strike if you wish.
Okay. Strike or control, yeah.
And you can go ahead and
okay.
let me know what you would like to, what you have rolled.
I will do that. Since it is sense, I will roll 2 dice. One being a gilded, and I dropped a 6.
You got a 6 on your gilded?
Not on my gilded dice, but on my other die, yeah.
Okay, do you want to take, are you going to take the 6 or the gilded?
I'm going to take the 6.
All right. You fire this torch off, and everything in your history, everything in your present lines up. With that 6, I'm going to say that you drive that fire right into, as another tremendous gaping mouth with nothing but teeth manifests out of this creature, and your torch goes straight in to this mouth.
Go.
The creature writhes. And once again, a wave of horror rolls across everybody in this room, that drops everybody down to their knees. But
unless you have a cane.
Unless you have a cane.
You like lean heavy on it.
In which case you may do a 3-point landing. But
the old knees again.
Or if you're already laying on the ground.
My knees!
Suddenly
it drops everybody down to their knees, but there is that gulp moment and this pop, like you've dropped pressure. And when you look up, there is nothing but a slowly dissipating puddle of greenish, grayish goo in the center of the room that is rapidly losing this strange color and turning just a ugly, matte, slimy gray-green. And Charles Michaels collapses just as he's about to get his fingernails and hands around your neck, Thorn. He just goes down, boom, flat to the ground. And his sister screams and runs to him. But it is too late. He is already simply dissolving. And just as the creature turns into greenish, grayish goo, so does ooze trickle out of the sleeves and collar of Charles's sweater and button-down shirt. And as his sister wails and holds her own face, there is simply nothing left.
I'm going to rush over to Farah for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, quickly, my gun misfired. Let me see yours for a moment.
She's going to, you know what? Roll for a sway.
Absolutely.
Hell no. Okay,
6.
hold on.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Just when we needed them, right at the end.
Just when you need it. She is, you know what? She is sufficiently distracted and horrified at this point that, you absolutely get her to give you her gun.
Cool. I'm going to unload it and knock her out with it.
Oh.
Yeah, you dump it's your same style gun as yours. It's one swift move, crack out the thing, whack her, and for the second time today, you knock out a woman.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
second time
well-
in like 30 seconds. So
Well, this one tried to kill the guy that we were here
Yeah.
to save, and then shot my hat off at the same time. So,
yeah.
she doesn't get this back.
All right. So we can go ahead and move into mop up. This is going to be a little more complicated with an unconscious OUP agent, but and yet at the same time, it gets a little smoother.
Yeah, she's not going to be
Use
an
her
OP
handcuffs
agent when she
to
wakes
handcuff
up.
her because I took them from the girl. So she'll be wearing her own
Sure.
handcuffs when she wakes up.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
not going to have
No
a job when she
valuables of
wakes up.
anything left on her. We're taking everything.
Whatever connections or strings we can pull, she's not working for OOP anymore.
Well, that is a different role. So I will tell you
Well,
what
we
you
can
are
maybe
able
make
to
that
accomplish.
epilogue because it's 10 till midnight here.
I would the
Yes,
very
I was
least-
going to say.
Pickpocketing her, taking everything off
Yes.
of her and handcuffing her.
That's going to be
So
what I devote
with-
my life to for the next several days.
With the OUP agent knocked out, it is a very simple matter for one of you to head back up the stairs, get a message to Mademoiselle Cheroslavsky, and you, given Candela's heavy presence on the campus, it is merely 30 to 60 minutes before you are swarmed with assistants. The students, the surviving ones, are rushed off to parts unknown. You assume that they are all infected with bleed, and so they are rushed off to receive assistance and face consequences because they did all collectively murder a bunch of people to keep their friend alive and themselves alive.
I am going to tip off
Mhm.
Mrs. Cheroslavsky that the one girl was the one who had tipped them off and has an underground connection to the OAP, so might be worth trying
Yes.
to maybe make an agent.
You absolutely do that, Robin, which is one of the things you were tasked with, was finding a connection. It's not amongst the staff, but you have found a great connection, and Magella Pritchard is very connected to you now, and you have made a valuable connection for Candela Obscura. That you've also solved the mystery of how OUP got tipped off to this first. And you have contained this incident. And by the time Farah wakes up, handcuffed and with a very big headache, she is somebody else's problem and is delivered to the OUP with a note taped to her, pinned to her collar that is going to be a very summarizing the incident, and this is going to be very hard for her to live down.
Requesting that she be given new shooting training because she didn't hit anything.
Yes.
Gosh.
And so I will say this does, you are burning a relationship with
Oh, no, we didn't have one.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that is how it ends. You guys succeeded in your mission. You took down the creature. We can go ahead and take a look really quick here because it is very late. I don't want to keep you guys up too much later. But yes, so your circle advancement, you did, let's see. Did you
I think we
contain
did
or
2 of them.
destroy a source of bleed? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you provide comfort or support for those affected? Yeah. Robin did.
Okay.
Did you
They did.
I would have if there had been more epilogue.
something of
Robin.
importance back for Candela Obscura to study? This is a little more tricky because I didn't really give you an object, but
Yeah, I
you
don't-
Could
did.
have scraped up some goo.
You did discover this room. And yes, so I'll say yes. You want to take a quick look at your illumination keys individually? So Robin, your elimination keys were do something illegal, make a deal, stand up to authority.
I know I did at least 2 of those 3.
Yep. Very nice. Thorn, your elimination keys perform a trick, spot a ruse, seek out real magic.
I think I did perform a trick and seek out real magic. I don't think I spotted any ruses.
Okay. And Eunice, yours were consult an arcane text, collect oddities, and act bizarre, which is.
Well,
I made
You
that poor
definitely did one of
joke
those.
after Farah said, "Let us go over here." I'm like, lettuce and rhubarb. Like, bad joke.
definitely pull off.
Nice work, everybody. You saved the day. And
Except for poor Charles. I thought we were going to save Charles when we burned the monster. I guess not.
yeah, no,
He
he
was
was
too
too
far
far gone.
He was too far gone,
There was
poor
no,
bastard.
there was no way you could have saved him, but you managed to save the other 5 by taking out the monster before the others were too corrupted.
I'm very glad
fight
that
them. Yeah.
Eunice was able to hit that thing with the torch.
Yeah.
But had she not, the
It was-
2 items I had remaining on my person were flash powder and magic show gimmick.
Yeah.
So that would have been
You
great.
did get to use your smoke bomb, so
Yeah.
we got to use one of them. Did I freeze? It looks like
The whole
Yeah.
thing did.
That's
Uh-oh.
a that's a
Are we
sign.
still on?
Thanks everyone for watching. We're gonna
I don't know.
tap out
You
for the
guys are
night.
here.
And we'll see you all.
Steve,
I
you
think
there,
we
buddy?
lost
I think we
Steve.
lost Steve.
Oh
Lost
no.
All
me.
right. Well, on that note, if anybody can still hear us,
I
great
think
game,
everyone can hear
everybody.
me, but I'm
that
gonna
was
hang
very
up.
fun playing with you all. I hope you all had a great time.
Good
Yes,
night.
thank
I'm
you.
gonna
That was
go-
wonderful.